3 months ago, I would read a book, set it down, and have no idea what I just read. Maybe that's you. Maybe you feel like nothing sticks. You study all night, but blank on the test. But what if I told you I found a way to increase your memory, and it doesn't take hours or fancy memorization techniques?
It's almost like you have a pseudo-photographic memory when you study this way.
If you stick around till the end of this video, I'll give you a 5-minute step-by-step exercise that's proven to double or even triple your ability to remember something. This all started about 3 months ago when I was listening to a podcast with Cal Newport and Andrew Huberman. If you're not familiar, Cal Newport is a best-selling author and is known for helping students excel in their studies. The man is no joke, so when he started laying out a system for how he remembers what he learns, I started paying closer attention. This exercise is called active recall. Here's some examples. What outfit did you wear yesterday? What did you discuss in your meeting? What are some concepts that you learned from the last book that you read? Your ability to pull that information out of your brain is active recall. So how do we use active recall to double or even triple our memory? It's so simple, you're probably gonna think I'm an idiot for making a whole video about this, but people don't do it. So here you go. After you learn a piece of information, stop and explain what you just learned in your own words. You can write it, tell it to someone, or just tell it to yourself. The only rule is that it must be in your own words. Notice how different this is from memorization. You see, memorization is great for exact things, but doesn't necessarily mean that we understand it. This is where I went totally wrong as a student. I'd be studying for a test and review the same information over and over and over, trying to memorize it. What I was actually doing is building recognition, not understanding. The goal is not to memorize that 2 + 2 = 4, but to figure out why, so you can figure out the other equations. So I found something in an article and I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to actively recall it so that you can see kind of what it actually looks like. Changes in attention have been described by many as the key to changes in human memory. However, attention is not a unified function. It is comprised of sub-processes. Our ability to focus on a single task or stimulus while ignoring distracting information is called selective attention. There is a sharp improvement in selective attention from age 6 into adolescence. Sustained attention is the ability to stay on task for long periods of time. The ability to switch our focus between tasks or external stimuli is called divided attention or multitasking, which also improves into adolescence. So what that was basically saying is that there are different kinds of attention. What I first mentioned was that changes in attention are a large part of the human memory and how it's formed. The first thing it covered was selective attention, which is when we stay focused on a single task while ignoring other stimuli around us. The other types of attention that it talked about was sustained attention, which is very similar to selective attention, except for sustained attention is simply focusing on one single task for a very long period of time. And then multitasking, or I forget what it called it, diverse attention or something like that. And this is when we switch between tasks. So we take our attention and we split it up, or we shift it very quickly between different things. And it said that all three of these forms of attention increase into adolescence. Now, I just gave that back to you in my own words, right? If I was trying to learn this, I would actively recall it twice. Because the first time I did it, I was able to do it, but there was some hiccups. So depending on what it is, you might have to reread the information or reconsume the information and do it again. Now, when I first started doing this, I was clumsy and bad at it, but I kept trying because of something that Cal Newport says.
You learn very quickly, and not only do you learn very quickly, you don't forget. It's almost like you have a pseudo-photographic memory when you study this way. You sit down to do a test, and you're replicating whole lines from what you studied. The ideas sort of come out fully formed. And so I went from a pretty good student to 4.0 every single quarter. It was like this miraculous transformation. It was active recall. I did so well academically, that's why I ended up writing that book.
The first way I practiced this was actually by using active recall to learn and remember what active recall was. So if you're up for the challenge, pause the video and explain in your own words some of the things you've learned in this video. This only takes 1 or 2 times until the new information is locked into your memory, because you're not just putting information in on its own as if you were memorizing it. You're weaving it into the existing fabric of your understanding. And unlike memorization, to do this, you have to understand the concept. And when you understand something, it's 10 times easier to remember it. So I want you to think about active recall. Everything that I just explained came from a podcast 3 months ago when I used this technique on that information twice. Also, I did it while I was driving. Since that time, I've used this on specific information that I wanted to learn and remember. And so I'm telling you these things because 3 months ago, I know for a fact I could not have picked out a podcast, a book, and 2 YouTube videos that I watched and tell you about them. I couldn't have done that. It would have been impossible. And so I'm showing you this to show you that an average guy like me with a self-proclaimed terrible memory, ask any of my friends, can use a technique that will improve it. And if it works for me, it can work for you. So we've learned how active recall works, how it's different from memorization, and also how to do it. But for something to become a habit, we have to learn when we're gonna do something. So let me give you a 5-minute step-by-step exercise that I use to build this straight into my day so that I can selectively plant information that I want to remember. Every day, I set aside at least 5 minutes to spend on remembering something new. I live by myself, so whenever I encounter something, I usually just speak out loud, like I'm teaching someone. Now, maybe I get to the end of my day and nothing really jumped out at me that I want to remember. Even so, I still take 5 minutes to recall something. It could be from my day or information that I learned before that I want to make sure that I still know. And like any ability, using it every day will help it grow. Now, your time is valuable, and if you leave this video and you don't remember what you learned, I'm gonna feel like I wasted your time. So what I would recommend is set a timer for 5 minutes and act like you're teaching someone about active recall. Often it starts with kind of a slow trickle, and you'll remember one thing and then another thing and then another, and sometimes it's completely out of order, but just don't force it. Just let it come to you and explain it and recall it as it comes. Now, if you do this, I can guarantee you that tomorrow you will be able to remember more from this video than any other video that you watch today.